All right, we got our call recording set up now. So first things first, let me introduce who I am. My name is Michael Perlberg. I work here at Outfield on the customer success team, and really my role revolves around making sure that our customers have the tools in place that are going to help them stay efficient and accomplish their goals, right? So from a high level, I do a lot of trainings. For instance, today we're going to be going over the web-based version from the perspective of somebody that was once out in the field, but is now working from home, which I know a lot of us are doing. And so just keep that in mind as we're taking a look at this. You know, if you have any questions, please, please, please don't hesitate to write them into the chat. If you look at the top of your Join Me window, you will see a little chat bubble icon. If you hover over it, it will say chat, and then you can just throw in a question to either the full team channel, or you can send it direct to me. It doesn't really matter to me as long as we eventually do get that question answered for you. So taking a look here at the web-based version, obviously we've got our league play leaderboard showing there, and we also have our player card. I just like to show this screen because it's going to let us know the lens that we're looking at Outfield through. So if you've ever been on a training with me, you know that I love The Office. One of my favorite characters from The Office is Jim Halpert, and that's who we're going to be using here today as we look at Outfield working from home. And so just keep that in mind. This is more along the lines of, somebody who is selling paper, of course. So obviously, I don't know if we have any people in the paper industry on this call, but the industry is going to be different from what you guys are most likely doing. Just take that with a grain of salt. A lot of the applications and things that we're going to be running through today, will closely mirror what you'll do on a regular daily basis, right? So first things first, I always like to look at the side menu here. This is, if you're new to the web-based version, this is a new interface for you to take a look at. And so we've got the performance tab here on the side, and this is really going to show us league play and then analytics around our accounts. We've got team activity, which is similar to the team activity page that you see on your mobile-based version. It's just really like a social media feed for you to interact with other team members. Managers can comment on things. You can comment on other people's things, share those best practices, whatever it might be. Really, really effective there. We do have our chat here, calendar, accounts, which accounts is going to be comprised of your places and your contacts all together. We actually, if I click on accounts here, we have our places page and our contacts page. We've got deals and then tasks, and then of course, our settings and support and things of that nature. So the first thing that we're going to take a look at here is our team activity page, very similar to what we have on the mobile-based version, but you see a map here, right? And this map allows us to visualize the activity that our team is doing out in the field, right? And so I can layer on heat maps here. I can turn markers on and off. I can turn traffic conditions on. Don't know how much knowing the traffic conditions is going to help you at this point, but you can visualize your territory a little bit easier that way with some of these features that we have in place. We also have filters so that you can show exactly what you want to see. If you only want to see your stuff, you can go in here and filter by only your things. So we'll go to Jim Halpert here. I can set a date range if I want. I can take a look at specific activity types or different forms that I've completed. But we're just going to take a look at what Jim Halpert has done. And this is going to show me, basically, if you remember back in the day, we had what we called My Dashboard. Well, this is now just a filtered out team activity page, and it shows me everything that I've done, right? These are all various touch points that I've had with customers. We'll see a lot of deals that I've put in here with Academy Sports and Outdoors, any visits that I did, spoke with Greg about their paper needs, right? This happened on Monday at 1:13 p.m. And if I click the little settings gear icon over here, it's got a little arrow next to it. It's going to give me the option to go into details. I can edit it, or I can delete this visit altogether, not visit, but this touch point altogether. And so if I click details, that's just going to take me into a more in-depth overview, right? This is a phone call where I spoke with Greg. It was a cold call. What was the outcome? Well, I've got a follow-up that I need to do in a week, right? This is a very basic example of how you can use Outfield, looking at some of your past activities. But essentially, this is showing me everything that happened within that, that touch point, that phone call, right? And then if we're working from home, we're probably doing a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails, a lot of more or less virtual touch points, right? And so this is all stuff that you'll want to keep in mind as you're looking at your activity. And so with that team activity feed, of course, you can search for specific things. You can run advanced searches on things as well. If you wanted to take a look at all activity that fit within a certain criteria, you could restrict this down to, the postal code or a custom field or a deal stage, whatever is most applicable to you. And I do see that we are potentially having some audio issues. Viewer 2 says audio is going in and out. If anybody else could write into the chat if they're experiencing the same audio issues, please let me know. Keep in mind, we're recording this, and so I can always send a copy of the recording out to people as well. And we also have a few additional training sessions coming up. So if people could chat in, whether or not they can hear me fine, that would be much appreciated. But for the purposes of everything, I am going to continue on. If there's any audio issues, I do apologize, but want to make sure that the recording is going smoothly as well. So that's really it for the team activity page, right? We've got that search bar there. It's going to allow us to find specific things. We've got our map here to show, what our territory looks like, what the activity looks like within the territory. And then, of course, we have the feed that really outlines everything that, we're doing with our touch points, with our customers, et cetera. The next area here in our side menu is the chat feature. This is something that is new to Outfield. You'll recognize that we got a little beta tag next to it. That's because this feature is still in beta, but it can be a really effective tool for communicating with your team, right? You can set up channels, you can set up private message groups. If I wanted to send a message to Dwight and Phyllis all at the same time, I can do that. If I want to participate in the team chat channel, well, I have that here pulled up as well. We can see the entire stapler and Jello debacle going on in our team chat right now. Of course, this is a fun example of how chat can be used, but in all reality, this can be a really effective communication tool. This is what our team uses for any and all communication within the Outfield team. And, we've got channels set up for marketing, sales, development, all that good stuff. And it's, it helps us stay on top of any communications that need to be happening. All right, perfect. So again, this is a feature that is in beta, so keep that in mind, but it can still be a really effective tool for maintaining that level of communication that you might require from your team. Moving on into the calendar, very similar to the mobile-based version's calendar. This is just going to be pretty much the same thing, but on a browser window, right? And so we've got our search bar here. I can search for specific things. That's one thing that is kind of unique to the web-based version, is that you'll be able to search for a lot of different things. Well, we have advanced searches. We have additional filters here over on the right. If you wanted to find something very, very specific, you can do that. We can also colorize our maps and our calendars here to view certain things, right? So we got this colorize option over here. I can colorize by the different form that was filled out. So let's say, my manager, especially with working from home, let's say we've got a phone call form, an email form, and maybe a webinar form, right? If you guys are hosting webinars for your customers, that might be something that you want to do. If you're doing phone calls, emails, you might want to have a form that speaks to a lot of those different things. And so, we can colorize that, show the calendar in all sorts of different formats. But of course, to actually schedule something on the calendar, there's a couple ways you can do it. You can either click add event here in the upper right, or we also make it pretty easy. You can just click on the date and something's going to pop up. A little module is going to pop up to where you can jot down the details of what that calendar event looks like, right? So let's say it's just a follow-up phone call with Greg. We've got this set for March 31st. Let me put a start time in here. This is going to be from 3 to 4. I can set this to be a repeating thing or not. For this purposes, I don't really need to do it. But if you did need to have maybe like a status update meeting with a customer every 3 weeks, this is a perfect example of, or a perfect tool to, set those recurring calendar events up. And of course, we'll choose the The account that this is going to be with, Greg, is associated with Academy Sports and Outdoors, and we'll add in a form here. We'll choose our phone call form. All right. Jot down some notes. Make sure you catch him before 5 p.m. Right. Hit save. That's going to go into my calendar, saved on there. We scroll down. We're going to see this check-in here, this planned check-in show up right there. That's going to get put onto my calendar. I can make sure that I go in and complete it. So that's the calendar, very, very similar to what we saw on the mobile-based version, if you're familiar with that aspect of scheduling on Outfield. But the calendar, it's not a ton different from any other type of calendar that you might use, whether it's an Outlook calendar, a Gmail calendar, whatever they call it, Google calendar. That's pretty standard and straightforward. You can break things down by month, week, day. You can flip back and forth between your months, however you need. Okay, so that's the calendar. That's one aspect of scheduling. We do have tasks as well, which I will get into here in a few moments. But the next area is probably the most important when it comes to working from home, right? And that's going to be your account section. Now, if we see here on the side menu, we've got our accounts. Accounts are actually broken up into two separate databases. We've got places, which are the actual facilities that you might visit on a daily basis using Outfield. And then we also have contacts, which are the people who might work within those locations. And so for a majority of people's activities, they're just going to do their, even if it's a phone call with a specific person at an account, they'll mark all of those interactions under their places, right? And so we'll click the places screen right over here, and I actually have it open up in a new tab. So when I click on that places page, it's going to show me what my territory looks like, right? Of course, we've got the big map, and this is similar to the places page that you have on your mobile app. But within this map, we have a few additional capabilities. Of course, we've got the search bar. We can run an advanced search for all sorts of different things. If I wanted to only see accounts that were in, let's say zip code 77008, I'll restrict this down to my postal code, hit search, and this is going to show me the 4 or 5, I think it's 4 locations. Of course, I unassigned myself from those recently, and we'll go back here to our places though and show me what my territory looks like. You go up here to 7708. Typically I have a Shipley's Donuts assigned to me up there. I guess I unassigned myself from it, but as we scroll down, we have our list of accounts here, and this could be in really whatever order you want. Right now, I have it defaulted to be in alphanumeric order, right? So A's, B's, and C's, and we got this 1336 Britmore Road listed up here. It's got a number as its name, but we can also sort this list out by our last activity, right? So we see over here, we've got our last activity date showing. This just means the last time I visited Academy Sports and Outdoors was 3 days ago, and my next planned activity is 4 days from now, right? And that actually goes back to that calendar event that we created a little earlier. But I can flip this, I can go in reverse order by clicking on the column header. If I wanted to see activities by last activity, or my locations by last activity, these are all the places that I actually have yet to complete or yet to do any, phone calls, emails with, any interactions with Game Day Films, Walmart, Mike's House, all that good stuff. And if I click it again, this is going to show me the locations that I've done, any type of interaction with in the, near recent past, right? So there's Academy Sports and Outdoors, that was 3 days ago. Did something with Best Buy, that was 9 days ago, Britmore, so on and so forth with this list, right? But this is just telling me, when the last interactions I had with my accounts were, who my accounts really are, and, if needed, I can go in and click on, let's just do Academy Sports and Outdoors. Let's say I'm going to have a phone call with Academy Sports and Outdoors. We'll click on their account here, and it's going to take me into a more in-depth overview of Academy Sports and Outdoors, and only Academy Sports and Outdoors, right? So we've got the address listed there, but we also have these colorful little blocks here that tell us how many different actions we've done with the account, right? So I've done 70 check-ins. over, the span of, probably 6 months, right? We've done 50 deals, 8 tasks, and 31 notes. I've got a little indicator here of upcoming calendar events and upcoming tasks. These 2 tasks are actually of a little overdue, March 11th and February 21st. Those are just follow-ups that I needed to complete. But, everything that is important with this account, upcoming calendar stuff, tasks, how many activities I've done is all right here on this one screen. And if I scroll down, we're actually going to see a running feed of all activities that I've done with Academy Sports and Outdoors, right? It looks very similar to what we saw on team activity. However, this is really a filtered out list only for Academy Sports and Outdoors activities, right? And, let's say Dwight Schrute went in a couple months ago and visited Academy Sports and Outdoors. I'm going to see those same interactions here, whether it's, any photos that he might have taken, any notes that have been taken, that have been jotted down. All of that is going to appear on this page for me to see. That way, if I do have a phone call or I send them an email, I'm the most educated I can be on that account. Anything that's going to help me move them forward, convert them, maintain a good relationship with them, that's all going to be here from this page, right? And so if you were familiar with the mobile-based version, right, the most common use feature there was checking in, right? That's basically you go in, visit with a store or an account or a facility, and you start a visit, and you do that by checking in. Well, we have that same capability and functionality here on the web-based version. That's this big blue button in the upper right-hand corner. It says check in. When I click check in, it's going to start my visit, and you'll notice that it looks pretty similar to what you have on your mobile app, right? You have a title screen. You can follow up with people or, just jot something down. That's really completely optional. You can also jot down some additional notes here, anything that's going to help you understand exactly what happened. If it's a phone call, they didn't answer, you might want to write in, didn't answer. We'll try again in, a couple hours or tomorrow morning. And if you're, again, I don't want to sound like I'm repeating myself, but from the mobile-based version, of course, we did have forms as well. And, for managers that, had their forms built out so that they really tailored to the field experience, you might want to consider creating some new forms that cater to working from home, right? Things like a phone call form, a follow-up email form, any type of interaction that your team is still having with their customers, you might want to have a form built out for that. And so we'll just hit select forms here. It's going to pop up a little selection screen. And we've got cold call form. I might select that if I'm just doing a cold outreach, first time, interaction with that customer. We also have phone call, which I'll select. Phone call is pretty easy to walk through. Hit done. And when I do that, all of my questions are going to pop up here, right? Who did you speak with? Let's just say Sarah. Type of call. Let's say I went in and did a proposal review with Sarah. And what was the outcome? Let's say I did a good job and we landed a sale, right? So good for Jim Halpert there. He landed his sale and he documented all that information here, just letting it, him know what happened exactly on this form or on this phone call. And keep in mind, I'm purely showing this from an example purpose. Obviously, this doesn't provide me a ton of information, but you can create these forms in whatever way that you really want, so that it does provide you and your team a ton of value, right? Questions, multiple choice, number entry questions. Obviously, for here, we want to understand, well, great, we made a sale. How much was the sale, right? And that might be a question that you have in there in that phone call form or whatever call form you have your team fill out. And so all that being said, you fill this out. You can add in images if that is applicable. For the most part, this is almost identical to the experience that you have on the mobile-based version. We're just going to hit checkout in the bottom right corner, and that's going to get saved to Academy Sports and Outdoors, right? We're going to let that load up there. And if you remember back, we had 70. Now we have 71 check-ins here, and this is the visit that Jim Halpert did with Academy Sports and Outdoors today at 2:22 p.m. So, a week from now, 2 weeks from now, I come back here to Academy Sports and Outdoors. I might want to check up and see, everything that was covered there, right? This is really the same experience that you have on the mobile-based version, but on the web-based platform. If you're working from a laptop or your computer, this can be very, very helpful for you guys. In addition to that checking in process, we've got this button here in the upper right-hand corner that says more, right? And this is just allowing you access to basically your toolbox, right? That you can do, that all these features that you can use in relation to the account that you're working with. In this case, we're looking at Academy Sports and Outdoors still. So if I wanted to plan out a calendar event only for Academy Sports and Outdoors, I can do that right here. We've got a deal section here as well if we're putting in a potential sale. I know a lot of our customers do have a deal pipeline set up to where they use that to track the progress of an account as it's moving through a pipeline, right? Things typically start out as a lead. You might qualify that lead. You might have an initial presentation or demonstration of value. Move it on through the process. We'll get into all that here in a few moments, but you can also set up a task, which we talked about a little earlier. You can set up just a general note. Let's say, something you're not directly dealing with the account, but something popped into your mind and you want to attach it to this account. It's going to pop up here in your feed below. And just literally, I like to think of those as like a Post-it note or a sticky note, right? Something that you want to keep top of mind, throw it in there. It can be really, really helpful. And then, of course, you can link a contact, which is, again, contacts are people who work within your accounts. So you can link that contact. Let's say, we did a phone call with Sarah. Well, let's say I want to create a contact for Sarah. I can go here, click link contact. It's going to give me the option to either select a pre-existing contact within my database, or I can create a new contact as well, right? So you have some options there, and they're all geared towards, helping you guys better manage the account altogether. So that's your toolbox. I haven't seen any questions pop in. Like I mentioned previously, don't hesitate to send in any questions if you have any. I'm trying to be as thorough as I can, but of course, this is potentially something new that people are looking at. And so I want to make sure that everybody does have a really thorough understanding of what I'm presenting. But if not, that is totally okay. We will continue on. If you at any point in time need to change up some information relating to Academy Sports and Outdoors, let's say the phone number was incorrect, we can always click the little settings gear drop down over here on the right, and I can edit this account, right? It's just going to pull up the information. It's got the name there, the street address. Here's the phone number. I can change that up if I need to. And then, of course, we've got some custom fields in here as well, just to help me, make my database a little more unique to the Dunder Mifflin workflows, right? So, if they're currently buying printers from us, we might want to have products carried. That might be a good example of a custom field. We'll do products carried. And we'll go in here and say printers, paper, staplers. I don't know, right? Input that into your custom field, hit update place, and that, it's just going to update that location with that new additional information, right? So if you are familiar with the workflows on the mobile app, what I just walked through is basically the most used workflow on Outfield, just on a web-based platform, right? Going into your accounts, finding the person that you're dealing with, and either going back in reviewing what you've done in the past, or creating a new account interaction altogether by doing a check-in or any one of these items here over on the right, calendars, tasks, deals, notes, etc. All right. So let's move on into the deals page, right? So deals, this is where you're going to be able to visualize what your pipeline looks like, and make sure that you're not letting any potential sales or important deal sealing interactions fall through the cracks, right? So we love maps here at Outfield. Pretty much every page on the platform is going to have a big map so that you can visualize where activity is taking place, right? And so adding in deals, looking down here at the bottom underneath the map, this is actually what our pipeline looks like, right? So we've got prospect, lead, needs analysis, business proposal submitted, and the deal closed stage. Now, something to keep in mind, all of these stages are customizable. You're not locked into this. We understand that not everybody has a prospect and a lead and needs analysis stages, so on and so forth. Yours are going to be a little more unique to your needs. And so this is just helping me visualize where everything is. Obviously, we have this Academy Sports and Outdoors prospect deal. We can always move this over just by clicking on it and dragging it over to our lead stage, and we'll notice that all of these stats are going to update in real time, right? So I move it over, and we now have 15 deals in the needs analysis stage. Our average deal worth there is $3,000 or $3,180 to be exact, and this just helps me maintain order and structure around the sales process, right? So I know not everybody that might be on the call is doing sales. You might be more so focused on marketing, but this can still be a useful feature just to better help manage a process. Everybody should have, in my opinion, everybody should have a process that helps them outline how they handle their accounts, right? Because at some point you want to make sure that account is happy. There's a lot of different steps that go into making sure that the account stays happy. So let's say you wanted to add in a deal directly from this page. You have this big green button in the upper right. If we click that, it's going to bring me to a page where I can outline the specifics of this deal. So let's say Jim is trying to sell some printers to somebody. We'll just say this is going to be a printer sale worth $2,500 there. Let's say it's already past the prospect stage. Let's say it's a lead, and we'll choose the account that this is associated with, say Custom Supply Inc., right? And I'll jot down some notes. Bulk discount was given, right? Hit save. This is purely an example, but that's going to go into our pipeline. We see that the deal was successfully added. If we scroll down, we're going to see that printer sale here in our lead stage. Now, again, all of the stats are going to get updated as we move through and adding in deals, moving them through the stages. I can make this go backwards in time, and we now see that our prospect stage has one deal worth $2,500, and our lead stage is all of that stuff has been updated as well. All right, so that is the deal pipeline. Again, you can add in deals from a few different areas of Outfield. I showed earlier, if you're on an account, think back how we were looking at Academy Sports and Outdoors, you could just click the More button, hit Deal, and you'll be brought to basically that same page where you can input the specifics of the deal and enter it in that way. Really, it's up to you, whatever workflow suits you the best. And also keep in mind that as you're working here on the web-based version, I was talking to somebody earlier, one of our other customers, and I know that on the mobile-based version we do have a drafts system, right? So if you're working on a check-in and let's say you get a phone call from a customer that takes precedence, you got to go take that and you come back. Well, that visit is going to be saved as a draft, right? We don't have that on the web-based version, mainly because you can just open things up in new tabs, right? So let's say I was working on a check-in. Let's say I'm doing a check-in here on this screen. Somebody, calls in and I need to take a look at their account and do a little multitasking. I can always come here to my places, hit right-click, and open it up in a new tab. And all of a sudden, I'm doing that multitasking. I know it sounds simple at that point, but a lot of people don't realize that, if you leave a check-in, you might lose some of that data because we don't save them as drafts. So just keep that in mind if you are going in and completing a check-in and you do have to check another part of Outfield, maybe go into chat or schedule out something on your tasks or calendar. That is totally fine. Just open it up in a new tab and you'll be good to go. All right. So next area here, we got our tasks page. So let me click here into our tasks, and Jim Halpert is able to go in and see everything that he's done, as obviously he is slacking a little bit. We've got 4 overdue tasks all the way back to February 19th. And these are all follow-ups or things that he needs to do with his contacts and his clients, right? And so I can always add in a new task here by clicking the red Add Task button. And we're going to be given a few options here, right? I can describe the task. Let's say this is going to be fill out contact sheet, making things up at this point. Let's say this needs to be done, just in general. It doesn't have to be with a specific account. Again, this section right here is optional. So let's say I was doing something with an account, I can go in and select it here. I'm just going to leave that blank because this is more or less an internal task that I need to have completed. And then we have a due date. Let's say this needs to get done. Well, today's Friday, thankfully. And let's say this needs to get done by end of day Friday. I can add in reminders. This is something that is not unique to the web-based version, but is relatively new to the platform altogether. You can do this on the mobile app, but here, if we just click add reminder, we can set up an email reminder. Let's say I want to get emailed 30 minutes before this is due, essentially, and I can also add another reminder here. And let's say we're going to make that a push notification, right? So even though we work from home, we probably still have our mobile phones at our side. If you want to get a notification on that device, you can do that as well. Let's say we'll just keep that 10 minutes before. And we got some additional notes here. Remember to use the correct formatting. Something simple, right? This is purely an example. Again, you use this for more serious things, making sure that you stay on top of everything that needs to get completed. We'll hit save. That's going to go into my task list. We see it here in a new section because it's not an overdue task, basically, right? And we can, once we fill that out, we'll just come here to our task page and check it off the list, right? It's that easy. And we'll go here and check these off as well because I want to get rid of those overdue tasks. And that's the tasks page, right? It's pretty straightforward, but it's a very, very powerful feature that you can use to stay on top of the ball. And make sure that not everything, just goes slipping through the cracks, because at some point, if you have enough on your plate, you'll find a lot of benefit from, just writing things down and having that to-do list, that reminder list of things that you want to get completed. All right. So last thing here in terms of features and functionality that I want to showcase is performance. Now, performance is broken down into league play, but also analytics. Again, league play is Outfield's version in its take on gamification. We're one of the first companies to introduce this to the sales space. And so, we've got our leaderboard here: Jim Halpert, Dwight Schrute. Obviously, Dwight Schrute, Phyllis, and Stanley, they are not doing a lot this week. But Jim Halpert is. He's got 15 points. We can, take a look at different leaderboards. Of course, we've got the player card over here that shows Jim Halpert's stats. I always like to think of these as the intangibles, right? How do you measure hustle, diligence, preparation, leadership? We've got an algorithm that does do its best to determine what those are. And you have your, running history. Obviously, Jim Halpert is the team record holder for the best month, best week, and best day, and he's still a rookie, right? He has a lot of road ahead of him. But if we wanted to take a closer look into our analytics, we can do that as well. The performance analytics is really going to be broken down into 4 distinct tabs. We've got productivity, market insights, accountability, and leaderboard. For productivity, this is just showing check-ins and deals and tasks and notes that have been completed around the team, and showing, if those are trending upwards or downwards. Hopefully they're trending upwards, but, at this point in time, you just want to make sure that you're maintaining a level of productivity that you're happy with. And you can filter this out by type, by form, by deal stage, if that's something that is applicable to you. And we can see our percentages, our breakdown of where we're allocating our time, right? So presently, we're spending 32.7% of our time on check-ins, right? Actual, phone calls, emails, interactions with customers. Notes, 15.5% of all of our activity, tasks, and progress deals. This is actually a relatively even distribution of, things that I need to get completed, whether it's working on tasks or deals or check-ins. I've got all my my bases rounded out there, right? So that's productivity. Again, high level overview of what's happening around the team. Then we get into our market insights. And now market insights really tailor back to the forms that you fill out during a check-in, right? And so if we look at these little pill indicators here showing what our filters are, we're looking at data from the past 6 months, all relating to our cold call form, which I know you guys did not see earlier, but these are the questions that we're answering there, right? What industry do they service? What customer tier do they fall into? And this is just an added thing here on the web-based version that you do have access to, so that you can see, how you can better serve your clients by knowing what's happening around the field, right? If you're seeing that a lot of people are becoming unhappy with a certain aspect of a service, or they're really happy about another thing, that's all stuff that you probably want to be aware of, but you'll be able to see that here on your market insights. All right, so I'm going to skip over accountability. I don't think that provides too much value for working from home. And then leaderboard here. So the leaderboard just shows how many different types of interactions everybody's doing. Of course, I love to use and abuse Jim Halpert's account here. So he's definitely leading the pack in terms of activities that have been completed. But, we're able to see what Dwight's done, Phyllis, Stanley, how many different customer interactions people have done to, maintain some level of friendly competition, right? That's something that can keep all of our spirits up at this point in time, is, having a little friendly competition with our peers and colleagues, and, making sure that we're pushing each other to, continue the goals that we had in place before any self-quarantining and working from home. I know it is unfortunate, but it is something that is affecting everybody. So all that being said, that is really it in terms of the web-based platform and what you guys have access to just by logging in. Again, and I should probably share this with you guys. You can log into the web-based version of Outfield using any browser. I would not recommend using Internet Explorer. I would recommend using Chrome or Safari, or what's the other one? Firefox is a good one as well. All of those browsers are going to give you better results than Internet Explorer. Don't ask me why. It's not an Outfield thing. It's an Internet Explorer thing. They don't have their JavaScript or whatever you call it in developer language updated. At least that's what my team tells me. And so to log in, you just go to outfieldapp.com. There's going to be, if I go here, just type it in right now, outfieldapp.com. That's going to take you to our website. And in the upper right-hand corner, you've got sign in here. If you click sign in, that's just going to take you to a page where you can input your email and the password that you already use to sign into Outfield with. And that's from that point in time, you'll be in Outfield already. So really, really easy to get logged in. Again, if you don't remember your password or have forgotten it, you can always do the forgot password process and get into Outfield that way. Whatever floats your boat. And if you have any questions or difficulty getting logged in, don't hesitate to reach out to our support team, which is always a good transition here. Going into our support page, if you've been on a demo or a training or sometimes even an implementation call with us, we're going to be going over support because it's really important that you guys understand how to get in contact with us. You can always reach out to support@outfieldapp.com. You can give our phone a ring at any point in time. I know we're all working from home, but we are still answering the phone, of course. And we also have spring training e-learning courses. Now, these e-learning courses that you see, if you're an admin, you'll see the web-based functionality. If you're a user, at least at this point in time, and we're probably going to change this soon, you'll have access to some of the web-based walkthroughs as well. And then, of course, our YouTube channel. If you've been with Outfield for any amount of time, you know that we like to throw in some videos here to our YouTube channel. I think this is going to play if I don't pause it there. But most recently, what we have gone in and put into our YouTube channel is an inside sales workflow video to kind of mirrors what we talked about here today. It's relatively short. It goes over how to check in and how to input deals, but that can be really, really helpful as well as you guys are getting more accustomed to using Outfield from your kitchen table or your home office or your couch or wherever you are in your house if you're self-quarantining. And so all that being said, that is pretty much it for me. I would imagine there's probably some questions, and if you want, you can type those questions into the chat, and we'll take them in as they come. If you don't have any questions, I really do appreciate everybody's time. I know, this is a time filled with uncertainty. If there's ever been a time where the word unprecedented is more applicable, I think now is that time. Because, we really don't know what is to come with all this, but the only thing that we can do is help our customers out, make sure that you guys have the tools in place to remain successful, and hopefully this will all pass as quickly as possible. But that being said, I really do appreciate everybody's time, and hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and going into the weekend, have a really happy weekend.